Ethiopia and Egypt have failed to resolve a long-running dispute over a massive dam being built on the Blue Nile River. During the latest round of talks that concluded on Thursday, water ministers from the two countries failed to agree on the timelines of filling the dam's reservoir. Ethiopia has said it would like to fill it over a period of over 4 to 7 years. Egypt has, however, submitted a new proposal in which the dam would be filled over 12 to 21 years. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has been a source of tension ever since Ethiopia broke ground on the project in 2011. The talks that were held in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, are part of a dialogue between Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan that began in November. Egypt argues that filling the dam too fast would affect water supply within its territory. Well, let's bring you some analysis now on this deadlock. We are joined by Dr. Hassan Kanenje, the director of the Horn Institute here in Kenya. Dr. Kanenje, thank you so much for joining us. So 2 days of talks between Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan, and still no resolution. In your view, what is the core sticking point when it comes to the Grand Renaissance Dam?
I think, as you've slightly alluded to, the issue number one is the time. The issue number two is the quantity. Now, the time frame for Ethiopia appears to be too long, at least based on what the Egypt is insisting. And because this dam, given the amount of investment Ethiopia has put in, they would like to start making use of it fully as soon as possible. And of course, that has implications not just for the Ethiopian economy, for the regional economy. And Egypt is afraid that this may lead to declining water quantities. And we understand that Egypt relies almost exclusively on the Nile as its source of water for agriculture and other things. And therefore, that time frame and, of course, the quantity of the water, I think they have the major sticking points here. But I think there's light at the end of the tunnel, given that the parties are already negotiating on those two sticking or other important points.
Indeed, and of course, it seems that they are running out of time, though. There was an agreement or a deadline agreed to of the 15th of Jan with Washington. Considering what's at stake, is there any chance at all of resolving this by that deadline?
Oh, there's always a chance, for issues such as this ones. But I think it's important to remember that both the Nile Treaty of 1929 and 1959 had given Egypt, or at least disproportionately, were in favor of Egypt, to the disadvantage of actually other countries, both downstream and upstream. And therefore, you would not expect the talks over it are going to take just 2 weeks or 2 days or even 1 year. However, given what has been put in so far, I think it's in the best interest of both countries, and they recognize that, to reach some kind of a settlement. Now, this might not come next week in Washington, but it's likely to come perhaps in the course of this year, if not in the first quarter of 2020.
Ethiopia is obviously very unhappy with Egypt at the moment, accusing the country of having no intention at all of reaching a deal. But, considering, as you mentioned, that this dates back to the 1950s, what is the best way for them to come to some kind of resolution?
The best way is always to expand the pie and at least strike a compromise such that when their interests from both sides with regard to the use of the Nile River, and we understand that when parties start negotiating over a contentious issue, they always start from extreme positions. However, we expect that those strategies are going to move from positions to interests. And the strategic interest of both countries is to actually ensure there's an agreement so that Ethiopia can start using the dam and Egypt can continue to use the Nile River.
Well, let's see what Washington will bring to the conversation when they take the talks to the United States. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan Kanenje, joining us here in our Nairobi studio.